public hearing of okay. I will now call the public hearing of Thursday, May 30th, 2024 to order. This meeting is being convened in person and by electronic means. As such, council member may participate in person or by electronic means. If council members participating by electronic means, please ensure your video is turned on and let the clerk know if you are leaving the meeting for the purpose of confirming the quorum. Council members are reminded that in accordance with section 14.13 of the procedure bylaw, member must enable their video to confirm quorum. If council member attending by electronic means lose the connection during the portion of the hearing, we will recess the meeting until the connection is restored. If council member lose connection during the voting process, staff will get you back online quickly while we suspend the voting process, and the contact information has been circulated to you. Member of public can view the proceedings via live stream and YouTube link, which will be posted on X at City Clerk. We acknowledge that we are on the unceded homelands of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people. We thank them for having care for this land and look forward to working with them in partnership as we continue to build this great city together. In case of an emergency where we need to evacuate the building, I would like to direct your attention to the exits. There are 2 exits beyond the glass doors and to the left. If exits are obstructed, please direct your attention to the 4 exits in this council chamber. Please use stairs, do not use elevator. If you require accessibility assistance, please remain at your location and wait for security staff to get you to the safe location. I would also like to highlight there is a defibrillator located at the end of the hallway outside of this council chamber. I also want to take a moment to recognize the immense contribution of City of Vancouver's team members who work hard every day to help make our city an incredible place to live, work, and play. Clerk, may we have the roll call, please?
Yes. Mayor Sim has a leave of absence for civic business this evening. Councillor Carr.
Present.
Councillor Kirby-Young. Councillor Dominato.
Present.
Councillor Bly.
Present.
Councillor Boyle.
Present.
Councillor Fry. Councillor Montague. Councillor Klassen. Councillor Meisner. And Councillor Zhou, you are acting mayor in the chair. The hearing has formed.
Thank you, Clerk. Before we begin, I have some announcement. The public may participate by speaking in person, by phone, by submitting written comments to mayor and council. Speakers will have 5 minutes to make their comments and should limit their comments to the merits of the report being considered. Speakers should also state whether they are in support or oppose the recommendations, and if they are residents of Vancouver, if it is not noted on the speakers list. Those speaking on behalf of 4 or more persons or groups, including the speakers, will have 8 minutes to speak, and only if those represented confirm by introducing themselves on the line or in person. Those who are represented by another speaker must not be individual speakers themselves. Speakers may only speak once and should follow along on X at City Clerk for updates on the progress of the meeting so they don't miss their turn to speak. Any comments on agenda items can be submitted in writing through our online mayor and council public hearing feedback form. This link will be also posted on X. I also want to note City of Vancouver's long-standing commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion, including almost respect for all genders. I remind council when addressing speakers and the staff, we will avoid using gender honorifics. We will instead refer to the person by first and last name, role, or title. Remember that council's role at public hearing is to be a quasi-judicial body, which means council is to only consider the merits of a rezoning application or heritage designation. Council members may ask clarifying questions from speakers, including the applicant, technical advice from staff, but should save debate for after the close of the speakers list. After hearing from the speakers, Council may 1. Approve the application in principle. 2nd, refuse the application, or the third one is refer the application to staff for further consideration. Finally, if Council does not conclude public hearing from all speakers this evening, we will recess and reconvene the meeting on Tuesday, June the 4th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Okay, so we're going to start with the first item on the agenda. The first item is CD1 rezoning, 1805 Victoria Drive. Does any member wish to declare conflict of interest on this item? Okay, seeing none, the clerk will read the application and the summary of the correspondence received.
It's an application by HCMA Architecture and Design to rezone 1805 Victoria Drive from residential district to comprehensive development district to permit the development of a 4-story building containing 2-story fire hall with 5 truck bays and 2 stories of office space above, to be occupied by Vancouver Fire and Rescue Services. A floor space ratio of 2.0 and a maximum height of 20.9 meters are proposed. General Manager of Planning, Urban Design and Sustainability recommends approval, subject to conditions set out in the summary and recommendation. The following correspondence has been received since referred to public hearing: 4 pieces in support and 1 piece in opposition. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Okay, thank you. This is the first call for speakers. Any speakers for this item who wish to speak to Council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 106-1445#. Before the close of the speakers list, the phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. There will be an opportunity for new speakers and missed registered speakers to be added at the end of the registered speakers list. We have staff from Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability here to present the application. Okay, so please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Simon Jay, and I'm the rezoning planner for this application, which is being considered under the Grandview Woodland Community Plan. The site, outlined in red, is zoned RT5 and developed with a 2-story fire hall built in 1959 that includes 2 truck bays and surface parking. Surrounding properties are also zoned RT5 and developed with 2-story residential buildings. There is local serving retail on the east side of Victoria Drive and an elementary school to the south.
Point of privilege.
Yeah, please go ahead, Councillor Carr.
Yes, it's Councillor Carr here, and I do have the network open, but it is not. The presentation is not being projected.
Okay, we're gonna fix that issue with Clerk.
Thank you.
Okay, how about now? Councillor Carr, can you see the slides right now?
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead.
The site is located near several parks, schools, community facilities, and childcare. It is also well served by transit. The site is within transit-orientated area Tier 3 for the commercial Broadway SkyTrain station. The applicant has been informed of the allowable heights and densities under the TOA legislation and has opted to continue with their current rezoning application because the funding is in place for this essential infrastructure. The enabling policy is the Grandview Woodland Community Plan, which manages growth over the next 30 years and was developed through a multi-phase planning program. The site is located within the residential core of the plan, which predominantly envisions duplexes. However, the community plan also explicitly supports the long-term renewal of the fire hall. The application was submitted on October the 13th, 2023. The proposal is for a 4-story building that includes a 2-story fire hall with 5 truck bays and 2 stories of office space for Vancouver Fire and Rescue Services. The maximum height of the building is 20.9 meters and the floor space ratio is 2.0. A total of 22 submissions were received during the public consultation. Concerns relate to traffic congestion, road safety, noise, height, and neighborhood character. In response to feedback, staff note that provisions to improve the intersection at Victoria Drive and 3rd Avenue have been included as conditions of approval. The noise from fire hall activity should be no louder than any residential neighbor, and the height of the proposal is required for the functionality of the fire hall and is consistent with the intent of the community plan. The public benefits from this application include an upgraded fire hall with 5 truck bays and co-located office space for the Vancouver Fire and Rescue Services, plus a nominal $20 DCL fee. In conclusion, this proposal is consistent with the objectives of the Grandview Woodland Community Plan. Staff support the application subject to conditions in Appendix B of the report. Planning staff and the applicant team are available to answer questions. The applicant team includes the Deputy Fire Chief, facilities staff, and the architect. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the applicant team like to present application?
Good evening, Council. Michelle Scholes, Director of Facilities Planning and Development, REFM. Project Manager Agatha Melchik is here to give us a few opening remarks about the application.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. I'm Agatha Malczyk, Project Manager with Facilities Development. Also tonight, joining us virtually are Deputy Chief Tyler Moore and architects Michael Henderson from a principal with HCMA Architects, and Steve Di Pasquale, Project Architect. Redevelopment of Fire Hall 9 in Grandview Woodlands is proposed to improve Vancouver Fire and Rescue Services in the neighborhood and was identified as a priority in the approved capital plan. Existing fire hall on site is a 65-year-old building. It's appraised to be in poor, nearly critical condition, and is approaching its useful life. New building will be able to address steadily increasing call volumes in the fire hall. As the neighborhood densifies and changes of the residents and the needs of the residents change as well. In 2023, in particular, fire and rescue saw a bump in the volume of calls, 16% increase in 1 year. New building will be a post-disaster structure, so it will improve resilience of the city. It will be able to respond to calls in emergency events, in post-disaster events, even of significant magnitude. It will provide a safer environment for the crews working there, better technology, more equitable spaces. New development will also collocate fire and rescue headquarters, fire investigations, and department operations center, which is a command center in an event of regional emergency. Their current location doesn't meet strategic requirements for this type of facility. Design of the proposed development was carefully considered by a multidisciplinary team with guidance by rezoning staff and input from the public through the rezoning open house process. Project goal is to achieve best neighborhood fit and improve immediate surroundings while delivering essential program. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from council to staff or the applicant team? Noting this is the only opportunity for council to ask questions of the applicant. So there are. Hey, Councilor Carbian, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. We've had other projects come forward to public hearing where sometimes the city has, it's been suggested we haven't maximized our own public land in terms of densification. And I think of the fire hall we opened last term that was a great partnership with the nonprofit providers and provided secure housing for women in transition, fleeing violence or other situations. So I know this one is a 4-story. And is unique in terms it's going to house the functions you described for Vancouver Fire operations and investigations. Is it because of the unique nature that we are not sort of multi-purposing the site and putting co-locating with the daycare, with housing there? I know it mentions of Yukon, says it doesn't encroach, also suggests there's duplex in the neighborhood. So, or is it the use for the operations? Why, otherwise, why aren't we intensifying or doing something else?
Thank you for the question. We did definitely look at that. We tested it. The challenge of co-locating housing in this particular site, because we are co-locating the fire hall headquarters, a significant amount of the density was already taken up with that. That would have been available under the rezoning policy that we're applying. So the pro forma just didn't make sense. There wasn't significant enough density to provide the kind of pro forma that would make the housing make sense. The housing would also have to be built to post-disaster standards, which would add a premium. So there wasn't significant enough density to allow for housing to make sense from a pro forma perspective.
Within the current rezoning, but we do have, there would be an ability to apply for rezoning. I guess my question is, which policy is it, the Grandview Woodlands, or which policy specifically? You said the rezoning policy. Which one is it coming in under, just for clarity, that restricts that? It is Grandview Woodlands? But have we not had other rezonings for Grandview Woodlands that have gone above the density stipulated in the GWAC plan?
So the area this is located in, it is a duplex zone, so it wasn't envisioned to have anything higher than a duplex. But there was a renewal of the fire hall in the same, in a slightly different part of the policy. So it's fine. The policy allows us to do the fire hall with the offices above, but there wasn't actually anything in the policy to allow to put housing above.
Okay, but have we not rezoned in the, under the Grandview Woodlands plan beyond the enabled density for other projects? I just want to really understand, I guess that, reframe my question, I really understand whether the limiter was the existing policy or the limiter was the office use and the disaster resiliency. Trying to zero in.
Casey Peters, Acting Director of the Rezoning Center. We have done projects in the Grandview Woodland Plan that have gone beyond, thinking of, not remembering the address, but it was related to reconciliation. We brought that to council earlier this year. So yes, we have done it in occasions. I think that the point that Simon was making is that in this area, there's not anticipated, prior to the TOA, it was not anticipated that there would be a significant amount of additional density in the area. So it was felt that the scale of the project should reflect the neighborhood. And I would leave it to Michelle to speak to the
Can I quickly follow
post-disaster.
up, just because I have time? So was this application streamed prior to the TOAs and the additional provincial
Correct.
legislation?
yeah, it came in before that we knew the TOAs, the
And we
details
re-
of the TOAs.
And we would rezone for reconciliation and what was in, I believe, social housing, if I'm thinking the project
Correct.
you're talking about, but we wouldn't rezone for another form of social housing?
I think the reconciliation projects that I'm thinking of were in a different area of the plan that did anticipate additional density. And there was also wording within the plan that directed staff to consider additional height and density for reconciliation, was the direction for this
Maybe
site.
just- Can I jump in the last minute I have then? Can we foreseeably, if the current firehouse is 50-odd years old, and this one might stand for some amount of time, can we anticipate the next few years that we are going to be increasing density in that area around it, and we'll have a short fire hall and taller buildings around it?
I think that's a fair comment, and my understanding from the applicant team was that there were some timing considerations for them. So when we did raise the comment about the TOAs coming into effect, that there was some concerns about needing to
Any
stay on a
comments from the
timeline.
applicant in my last 20 seconds?
Yes, in terms of the need to deliver quickly and reduce the amount of escalation on this project, we're trying to push ahead as quickly as we possibly can to get this very important service delivered as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Fry, please go ahead.
Yeah, and thanks. And in a similar vein, but more specific to the function of the firefighting offices. Now, I understand this is replacing Fire Hall 1. And what about the adjacent sort of facilities? Because there's quite a bit of facility at Fire Hall 1, as I recall. There's garages, and then close by, there's the fire training center. How's this going to work as far as the future of the fire facility? Are we relocating all the fire facilities to this location?
No, we're just relocating the headquarter piece, which is the highest pressure need to be replaced. We are working on actively planning for in future capital plans to replace Fire Hall 1 and the maintenance yards, but that is not defined as of yet. This is the first piece of that move.
And so the urgency to complete this, and I do appreciate the immense amount of work fire rescue does and pressure they're under. Can you just articulate the urgency to get this kind of happening now as opposed to sending it back and considering more density or what have you?
It's the state of the existing fire hall. It's the oldest in the system, and it is extremely seismically fragile. It really needs to be replaced ASAP.
Okay, I think that fairly articulates the need there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. So that's everything from everyone from the speakers list. So we're going to call the second call for speakers. This is second call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 1061-445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. Any speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium before the close of the speakers list. Speakers will have 5 minutes to make their comments and should limit their comments to the merits of the report being considered here. Okay, now we're going to hear from the public speaker. So the first speaker is Monica Dare. Is Monica here? Okay. Yeah, please come to the podium. You'll have 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Oh, thanks. Somebody automatically lowers this because they see I'm short. Bear with me while I change my glasses. Yes, my name is Monica Dare. I am a resident of Vancouver on East 2nd Avenue, obviously going to be affected by all of this. We are, well, I'm going to say I, although there are we behind me, in favor generally, and we support the rezoning. It will increase the capacity of the fire and emergency services in our community, which is very important and valued by the residents. So in general, the community supports this development. However, I and many others in the area have a concern that I want to address. And while you may feel it is way too early to even be thinking about this at this time, I still want to bring it to your attention early, and possibly will be bringing this to your attention often. For a long time now, the residents, particularly in the area of East 2nd and East 3rd Avenue between Victoria and Commercial Drive, have been struggling with traffic on their streets. This is in part because of the proximity to East 1st. As you all know, it's a main feeder to the #1 highway going both east and west. So 2nd and 3rd have become overly busy because drivers are trying to shortcut their access to East 1st. And Commercial Drive, of course, is also a major attraction, and it draws a lot of traffic to these streets. The area residents are currently working on a petition with suggested solutions to address the traffic issues, and we hopefully, will be presenting these to the city soon. But I'd like to mention that the residents are working on other neighborhood initiatives, including pop-up recycling spots for materials like styrofoam, batteries, and soft plastic. So this group is in fact multidimensional and not focused entirely on traffic issues. However, having said that, the traffic issues of extra noise, pollution, and damage to parked vehicles as cars jockey to try to pass on the narrow streets are of great concern to us. When we as a neighborhood look at the rezoning proposal, a major factor when construction starts will be the traffic control, particularly at East 2nd and Victoria Drive. While we're very aware that construction is in fact quite some time away, we simply want to call to the city's attention very early the importance of proper planning of traffic control. So I was glad to hear that there is in fact some plan to do some kind of upgrade at 3rd and Victoria. I wasn't aware of that before hearing that tonight. Basically, we just need proper planning of traffic control so as not to further burden the noted streets with more cars. I personally have been the victim of 4 hit and runs as cars are trying to pass on the street. Twice my side mirror was taken off, and twice I've had scrapes on my car. So this is a very personal issue for me. So please consider this as an early request. It's not intended to suggest that the city doesn't know what it's doing and doesn't know how to traffic control, but we just really want this to brought to your attention as soon as possible. And thank you for listening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Monica. You don't have any question, but thanks for speaking at council.
Okay, thank you.
We're going to go to the next speakers, Riley Wood in the chamber. Yeah, please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hello, Council. My name is Riley Wood. I live in East Vancouver, not too far away from this proposed fire hall. I think fire halls are good. We should build this one, but also let's talk about the planning process that brings us here today. So to start off, there's already a fire hall on this site. It was built in 1959, and it was built under the same residential zoning as the surrounding neighborhood. You know, and that makes sense because residential neighborhoods need fire protection. But today, when the fire department wants to renew that fire hall, the planning department has decided that that will require a new, unique zoning district. This has involved almost a year of process where the fire department submits very lengthy applications and renderings, the planners do tons of public consultation, and they write a 31-page referral report. We all deliberate this here in person today, and at the end of it all, we'll get a new zoning district that only applies to this one site. So if the fire department needs to do this again for another fire hall, they're back to square one. And so I'd like to ask, does this process make sense to you for approving some boring, essential civic infrastructure? Is this a good use of your time, the fire department's time, the planning department's time, just to build a new fire hall on a site that already has one? Like, why have we gone backwards, such that in 1959 a fire hall could be built or approved quickly under standard zoning, and now it takes ages and requires its own zoning district? The wider context here is that Vancouver now has nearly 1,000 zoning districts because this is just how the planning department operates today. Even if someone wants to build a boring, uncontroversial building, the planning department will waste everybody's time and money creating a new, unique zoning district for it. And if you think I'm exaggerating, I'd like to point out that this is just one of 4 new zoning districts being created tonight. This is no way to run a city. And when I see this kind of waste and red tape, I am so embarrassed by my city. It's really sad that we can't even plan, or we can't even renew civic infrastructure without a bureaucratic nightmare like this. And the worst part is it doesn't even seem to be on council's radar. But please do something about this. And don't just tell staff to go off and write a report. The culture of the planning department is fundamentally broken, and it's not going to get fixed unless you provide strong direction. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for speaking to council. Thank you so much. Yeah, there's no more question. Okay, so this is the third and final call for speakers. So if there are speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 1061-445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. Any speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium. So we will now take a 5 minutes recess for any additional speakers. We will be back at 6:36. Thanks. Great, thanks everyone. Welcome back. We do have the quorum. So let's continue. Clerk, do we have any additional speaker to provide the comments on this item?
Just double checking, Chair,
Mhm.
and it would appear no additional speakers and no additional correspondence. I'm not seeing anyone come forward, so no.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So seeing there are no additional speakers on this item, the speakers list is now closed. Seeing there are little or no public comments received after 5 p.m., I'm now also closing the receipt of the public comments. Okay, does the applicant has any closing comments? Oh, okay, thank you. Do staff have any closing comments? No, thank you. Does council have any question for staff? I saw Councilor Boyle. Please go ahead.
Thanks so much, Chair. I just have one quick transportation-related question. I have heard from folks in that area before around the transportation challenges on 2nd Avenue there as such a narrow street with a hill, and I know I have heard back and been able to put staff in touch with other residents along that area, but wonder if there's someone on the line who could respond and just give us a sense of what could happen there to improve that log jam, whether there's possibilities of a one-way or how we help prevent the situation where cars are getting stuck facing each other along that hill.
Thanks for your question. So engineering staff are not with us tonight. They did review this application and they did propose like a traffic signal for the fire truck. But we will take back the questions and comments from tonight back to engineering to review further.
Okay, that sounds great. I really appreciate that. And if there are folks with that concern who want to reach out to council, we can certainly help make that connection. But those are all of my questions, and I'm happy to move the staff recommendations if there's no one else.
Councilor Boyle, we are not there yet, but almost there.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Okay.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Okay, Clerk, did we receive any additional comments since the close of the public comments?
No, we did not.
Okay, thank you. So now council will make a decision on this application. I think it's moved by Councilor Boyle, seconded by Councilor Kirby-Young. Okay, so is there any debate, council? Okay, I didn't see anyone. All right, so now the council will make a decision. So clerk, please take us to the voting panel, and the council, please register your vote. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Clerk,
Yeah.
just in favor, please. I can't get into WebEx.
Okay. Councilor Dominado.
Thank you.
All right, so this item passed unanimously with Mayor Sim absent. Okay, thanks everyone. Okay, we will now move on to the second item. Number 2 is CD1 rezoning, 5350, 5430 Heather Street. Does any council member wish to declare conflict of interest on this item? Okay, seeing none, the clerk will now read the application and the summary of the correspondence received.
There's an application by Ridge Alliances Properties to rezone 5350 to 5430 Heather Street from residential inclusive district to comprehensive development district to permit the development of two 18-story buildings with 344 rental residential units, of which 20% of the residential floor area will be below market rental units. A floor space ratio of 6.28 and a height of 60 meters with additional height for rooftop amenity or mechanical appurtenances are proposed. The General Manager Planning, Urban Design and Sustainability recommends approval, subject to conditions set on the summary and recommendation. The following correspondence have been received since referred to public hearing: 3 pieces in support and 2 pieces related to other aspects of the application. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Thank you. This is the first call for speakers. Any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 1061445#. Before the close of the speakers list, The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. There will be an opportunity for new speakers and missed speakers to be added to the end of the registered speakers list. We have staff from planning, urban design, and sustainability here to present the application. And this item has no speakers registered, so council could opt to waive the staff presentation unless member find the presentation would be helpful. Okay, moved by Councillor Montague, seconded by Councillor Meisner. So we will not do the presentation, but please send the presentation to the council, please. Oh, yeah, all in favor say yeah. Opposed say nay. Thank you, the motion carries. So please send us presentation, thank you. All right, so would the applicant team like to present application if in the council chamber? They are here? Oh, yeah.
Thank you. We don't have a presentation, but we're happy to answer any questions if any come forward.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions from council to staff on this, or the applicant team? Noting this is the only opportunity for council to ask questions to the applicant. Okay, seeing no one on the queue, this is the second call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 106-1445 pound before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. Any speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium before the close of the speakers list. We don't have any registered speaker on this item, so I'm gonna call the third time. This is the third and the final call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 106-1445 pound before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. Any speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium. Right. So this script here is not right. Okay. So I didn't see anyone here. So let's take a 5 minutes break. We're gonna be back at 6:49. Thank you, everyone. We don't have quorum yet, hey? Oh, yeah, we need David. That's okay. Still good. Long day for everyone. Okay, everyone. One more. Okay, let me grab Sarah. All right, everyone, we have quorum. Now we are back. Clerk, do we have any additional speaker to provide comments on this item?
No speakers. I don't see anybody coming forward.
Okay.
No.
Thank you. Seeing there's no additional speakers, the speakers list is now closed. Seeing there are no comments, public comments received after 5 p.m., I'm also closing the receipt of public comments. Does applicant have any closing comments?
We have no further comments, thanks.
Thank you. Do staff have any closing comments? Thank you. Does council have any question to staff? Okay. Clerk, did we receive any additional comments since the close of the public comments?
No.
Okay, thank you. So council will now make a decision on these applications. Do we have a mover for this item? Moved by Councillor Meissner and seconded by Councillor Claassen. Is there any debate? Councillor Meissner, please go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to highlight that this is a significant amount of new rental homes, 344 new rental units, 20% below market. It's also in an area of the city that's changing rapidly, Canby Corridor, but close to the Canada line, and also across the street from the Heatherlands redevelopment, which is coming up in the next few years. So I just think that this is a great project that's going to make a significant contribution to the number of new rental homes that we need in Vancouver.
Thank you, Councillor Meissner. The council will now make a decision. So clerk, please take us to the voting panel, and council, please register your voting, the voting screen. Does anyone need a voting assistant? Talk Councillor Dominado, Councillor Fry. Councillor Dominado is there. She's absent.
Would appear.
Okay, so this project passed unanimously with Councillor Dominado and Mayor Sin absent. Right. Thanks, everyone. We will now move to the third item on the agenda. CD1 rezoning, 8815-8827 Selkirk Street. Does any member wish to declare conflict of interest on this item? Seeing none, the clerk will now read the application and the summary of the correspondence received.
Chair, Councilor Dominato.
Councillor Dominado, that's you?
Yeah, sorry, just on a point of parliamentary procedure. Sorry, I just had to step away to help my daughter. I missed the last vote. After this item, could we do a reconsideration so that I could vote?
Yeah, can we do that, clerk? Councillor Dominado would like to vote?
No.
Okay, so Councillor Dominado, you can now. It's too late.
Okay, but isn't there an opportunity to procedurally to redo the vote?
Yeah, clerk, can you double check?
I'm sorry, my apologies.
We need to bring the applicant back.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so Councilor Dominado, the clerk has confirmed it's not appropriate to do that. We have to bring back the applicant team. They have left already.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
Thank
sorry
you.
about that. Yeah.
No, it's okay. It's my error. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Dominado. We're going to continue with this item. So the clerk will now read the application and the summary of the correspondence received.
This is an application by Wilson Chun Architect to rezone 8815 to 8827 South Clerk Street from Industrial District to Comprehensive Development District to permit the development of a 6-story mixed-use building with work-live spaces at grade and 36 secured market rental housing units. A floor space ratio of 2.5 and a height of 21 meters with additional height for a rooftop amenity space or mechanical appurtenances are proposed. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability recommends approval subject to conditions set on the summary and recommendation. The following correspondence have been received since referred to public hearing: 2 pieces in support and 3 pieces in opposition. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Thank you, clerk. This is the first call for speakers. Any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 1061-445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. There will be an opportunity for new speakers and missed speakers to be added to the end of the registered speakers list. We have staff from planning, urban design, and sustainability here to present applications. This item has no registered speakers, so council could opt to waive the staff presentation unless any member find it helpful. So Councilor Montague motion to waive the presentation, and seconded by Councilor Clausen. All in favor say yea. Opposed say nay. Okay, so this motion passed with council's unanimous support. So we're going to waive the presentation, but again, please send us the slides. Thank you. Would applicant team like to present the application if in the council chamber? I didn't see anyone. Okay, I guess no. Okay, are there anyone online?
I don't have a presentation, but I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you very much.
Project architect. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Are there any questions from council to staff or the applicant team? Noting this is the only opportunity for council to ask questions of the applicant. Councilor Montague? That's the previous one, okay. All right, so I didn't see anyone in the queue, so I'm gonna call the second time for the speakers. This is the second call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 1061-445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. Any speaker in council chamber, please come forward to the podium before the close of the speakers list. Okay. I didn't see anyone either, so now I'm going to call the third and the final call. This is the third and the final call for speakers. If any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 1061-445 before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. Any speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium. I didn't see anyone either. Now we will take 5 minutes recess to see if we have any additional speakers. So we're going to be back at 7:03. Thanks, everyone. additional speaker to provide comments on this item, Clerk?
Just doing an absolute double check. No speakers on the phone. I see no one coming forward. And also no additional correspondence at this point.
Thank you. So seeing no additional speakers in the chamber or on the lines, the speakers list is now closed. Seeing there are no public comments received after 5 p.m., I'm also closed the receipt of the public comments. Does applicant have any closing comments?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Do staff have any closing comments?
We have no comments, thank you.
Thank you. Does council have any question for staff? Okay, seeing no one on the queue. Clerk, did we receive any additional comments since the close of the public comments?
Still none.
Okay, thank you. We will now make decision on this application. Do we have a mover for this recommendation? Moved by Councilor Clausen, second by Councilor Meisner. Council, is there any debate? Seeing no one on the queue, let's make a decision. So let's take to the voting screen. Council, please register your vote. Councilor Dominado,
Chair,
are you there?
Can I get a vote assistant in favor, please? I'm again having technical difficulties. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Dominado. Yeah. Okay, so this item passed unanimously with Mayor Sim absent. All right, thanks everyone. We're gonna move to the fourth item on the agenda, rezoning 4635-4675 Arbutus Street. Does any council member wish to declare conflict of interest on this item? Okay, seeing none. The clerk will now read the application and the summary of the correspondence received.
It's an application by Perkins and Will Canada Architects to rezone 4635 to 4675 Arbutus Street from 3D1 Comprehensive Development District to Residential Rental District. To permit the development of a 6-story mixed-use rental building where 20% of the residential floor area will be secured as below market rental. Floor space ratio of 3.4 and height of 22 meters are proposed. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design and Sustainability recommends approval, subject to conditions set out in the summary and recommendation. The following correspondence has been received since we referred to public hearing, 2 pieces in support and 1 piece in opposition. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Thank you, Clerk. This is the first call for speakers. Any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 1061-445#, before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. There will be an opportunity for new speakers and missed speakers to be added to the end of the registered speakers list. We have staff from Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability here to present the application. This item has no speakers registered, so council could opt to waive the presentation unless a member would like to see the presentation. Okay, moved by Councilor Kirby on this time, seconded by Councilor Montague. All in favor say yea, opposed say nay. Okay, so this motion carries. So again, please send us the slides. Thank you, Clerk. Thank you, staff. All right. Would the applicant team like to present the application if they are in council chamber? Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from council to staff on this or the application team? Noting this is the only opportunity for council to ask questions to the applicant. Okay, I didn't see anyone on the queue. Now I'm gonna call the second time. This is the second call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 1061-445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. Any speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium before the close of the speakers list. Okay, again, I didn't see anyone here. I'm going to call the third and the final call. So this is the third and the final call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. Any speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium. Okay, so again, I didn't see anyone here, so we will now take 5 minutes recess to see if we have any additional speakers. We're going to be back at 7:14. Thanks, everyone. Sorry here. Okay, so thanks everyone. Let's continue the public hearing. We have quorum. It's 7:14 now. So, Clerk, do we have any additional speakers to provide comments on this item?
There are none on the phone, and I do not see anybody coming forward.
Thank you. Seeing there are no additional speakers, the speakers list is now closed. Seeing there are no public comments after 5 p.m., I will now also closing the receipt of public comments. Does applicant has any closing comments? Thank you. Do staff have any closing comments? Thank you. Does council have any question to staff? Okay, didn't see anyone here. So, Clerk, did we receive any additional comments since the close of the public comments?
No public comments.
Thank you, Clerk. Council will now make a decision on this application. Do we have a mover for this applicant? Moved by Councilor Kerbion, second by Councilor Clausen. Is there any debate, Council? Okay, I didn't see anyone, so let's go to the vote. Please register your vote on the voting panel. Councilor Boyle? All right, thanks. This application passed unanimously with Mayor Sim absent. All right, thanks everyone. Okay, so we can now move on to the last item on the agenda today. CD1 rezoning 130-150 West Broadway and 2520 Columbia Street. Does any member wish to declare conflict of interest on this item? Okay, so the clerk will now read the application and the summary of the correspondence received.
This is an application by Arbutus to rezone 130 to 150 West Broadway to 2520 Columbia Street from commercial district to comprehensive development district to permit a mixed-use development with 28-story and 21-story buildings connected with a single-story podium with 514 secured rental units, commercial uses, and a 37-space turnkey childcare facility for city ownership. Floor space ratio of 8.5 and a building height of 89.9 with additional height for rooftop amenity space or mechanical appurtenances are proposed. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability recommends approval subject to conditions set on the summary and recommendation. Following correspondence has been received since referral to public hearing. 67 pieces in support, 2 pieces in opposition, and 1 piece related to other aspects of the application. This represents oral correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Okay, thank you. This is the first call for speakers. Any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 1061-445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. There will be an opportunity for new speakers and missed speakers to be added to the end of the registered speakers list. We have staff from Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability here to present the application. Please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Great. Good evening, Council. Thank you. I'm Nick Danford, the rezoning planner for this application for a mixed-use development in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood. So the site indicated in red is located not too far from City Hall here, over on the southeast corner of the intersection of West Broadway and Columbia Street. The site's comprised of a relatively large single parcel with a frontage along West Broadway of 125 meters and a depth along Columbia of 40. The site takes up the majority of the block and is bounded by a lane to the south. Zone C3A, the site currently houses a single-story large format retail space. Some may remember it as the former Mountain Equipment Co-op site, and now from time to time is Spirit Halloween. Given the commercial use, there are no residential tenants impacted by the proposal. Adjacent sites along Broadway are currently zoned C3A and are generally developed with 1 or 2-story commercial buildings. Properties further north along 8th Avenue are zoned I1 and part of the Mount Pleasant industrial area. And immediately to the south, across the rear lane, are low-rise, multi-residential buildings zoned either RM4 or RT6. So the site is fairly well served by amenities. Jonathan Rogers Park is located just 2 blocks to the north, with some childcare facilities as well as the Mount Pleasant Community Center nearby. The site is located within 800 meters of 2 current and 1 future rapid transit station. And it's, the location is within the Simon Fraser Elementary and Eric Humber Secondary School catchment areas. So a portion of the site is within 400 meters of the City Hall Canada Line station. The provincial TOA legislation contemplates up to 12 stories and 4 FSR. The enabling policy of the Broadway plan and proposal exceed these values. The site's located within the Broadway shoulder area east of the Broadway plan adopted by Council in 2022. This sub-area of the plan allows for consideration of rezonings for rental housing in this location up to a maximum density of 8.5 FSR. The maximum height permitted is 30 stories or up to the underside of certain Queen Elizabeth view sections. In this case, the height is limited by those view sections. Given the size of the site, the plan also identifies this location for a larger privately owned public open space to be included in the development. So in November 2022, the applicant submitted a proposal for a two-tower form of development connected by a single-story podium. The proposal included 514 rental units within just over 446,000 square feet of floor area. That results in an FSR of 8.46. Commercial uses were proposed at grade and on the second story, along with a large privately owned public space at the center of the site on the roof of the podium. The proposal included the dedication of a 37-space childcare facility as the community amenity contribution. So the challenge was that both the towers did exceed the allowable height in the policy. So at 28 and 29 stories, the form extended into the Queen Elizabeth view corridors. So on the screen is a portion of the protected views from Queen Elizabeth Park. The proposal received in November 2022 is highlighted with a red dotted line. As you can see, the west tower slightly extends into view corridor 3.2.3, while the east tower significantly extends into 3.2.4. Per the Broadway plan policy, the development can extend into the 2 lower view corridors, 3.1 and 3.2.4A. So recognizing this challenge, staff and the applicant worked together on a revised form of development scheme that complies with the heights and densities outlined within the Broadway plan. So the result in October 2023, the applicant submitted a revised massing that conformed to the height policy within the Broadway plan. The revised form remained 2 towers connected with a single-story podium. This time, the proposed heights were 28 and 21 stories for the west and east tower, respectively. Other aspects of the proposal, including the number of units, commercial floor space and location, density, and public space at the center of the site, remain the same as the original proposal. The redistribution of floor area allows for larger floor plates within a shorter overall structure. Though the revised size of the floor plate is larger than the policy generally contained within the Broadway plan, other urban design policies are met, including the shadowing on Jonathan Rogers Park, which there's none, and tower separation to potential future towers. So the proposal includes approximately 514 market rental units. This table is a quick comparison of market rental and home ownership costs by unit type. As you can see, market rents in this area are generally more affordable than home ownership costs. So the standard 2-week virtual question and answer period was held in late March last year. 251 pieces of correspondence were received through the application review process. Comments supporting the proposal noted that the height and density is appropriate given the proximity to transit and appreciated the proposed rental tenure and the childcare as an amenity. Comments of concern noted that the height and form of development deviated from the neighborhood's existing character. As well, folks expressed general concern about affordability of housing and the perceived overdensification of the Broadway corridor. In response to the concerns about the height, staff note that through the rezoning process, staff and the applicant did work to amend the proposed height and meet the policies contained in the Broadway plan. So the application is subject to a negotiated CAC process. If approved, the development would deliver a 37-space childcare facility turnkey to the city through an airspace parcel. The facility is valued at $6.5 million, nearly $6.5 million. That contribution, along with the expected DCLs and public art from the project, the total public benefits expected is valued at nearly $23 million. If approved, the development would add approximately 514 new rental units to the Broadway plan area, deliver a 37-space childcare facility to the city, and provide the envisioned privately owned public open space on site. Staff support the proposal, subject to conditions outlined in Appendix B, and are available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any questions from council to staff or to the applicant team, noting this is the only opportunity for council to ask questions of the applicant? Councilor Kirby, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I'll start with the applicant since this is the only opportunity. So if the applicant wants to come up, I'll ask my question just because I'm on the clock. So what I understand is, so you had to go through a redesign process and come up with a design solution, if I'm understanding correctly, with respects to respecting the view cones, but you ended up with the same number of units, and this was achieved through a design solution and floor plate adjustments. Can you give us a little bit of context around the floor plate change and confirm that the homes are the same size? It was just simply a design.
Okay. Good evening, councils. If I understand correctly, the questions is about the modification of the tower massing to accommodate the view cone to reduce the building height. So I'll give a quick explanation. I might refer to our architect here for answering it. Basically, what we've done is originally we have two towers. They're very similar in size. So both towers gain a little bit weight in terms of the floor plate size. And one tower, the one on the east side, because it's substantially reduced in height. So some of the unit get moved to the lower, to the podium portion. So there's a bit of a wider podium in the base of the east tower.
Does it change the livability feel or size of the units? You're going to that larger floor plate? How does that impact the actual homes or the units?
I believe that I will, the layout, it still look pretty reasonable. So there is natural daylight for each the unit of in the lower floor. Maybe I will.
Are the units comparable size to the original design?
I'm going to invite my colleague, Clement from Arbutus, to elaborate on the unit size.
Great.
Hi, Council. Thank you very much for the question. Regarding, and I'm Clement Poon from Arbutus, architects of record for the project. Regarding the units, and I think based on very similar kind of experience that we have in other jurisdictions and cities, that the typical plate of Corrini, what we're working on is very similar to, for example, like a Burnaby plate. So then we don't see it as being an issue in terms of having enough daylight, and also in terms of sizes, that they're very comparable.
Okay, just because I'm limited for time, so what is the new floor plate size and that you would normally work on, and how much smaller is Vancouver's?
Yeah, right now it's about 8,700 square feet.
8,000?
700.
And, but what was it before?
7,200.
Okay. How much time and money did it take you to have to go back and redesign that?
Maybe I'll pass it back to our clients. Thank you for the questions.
Too much?
Did it take you?
As you see, when we submitted the proposal in November 2022, and in the process of discussion with staff, that takes us about 10 months to redesign. So, among other things that we have discussing, so that kind of set us back by 10 months.
Okay. I appreciate that, and obviously there's cost that goes along with that.
Sorry?
I said obviously there is cost that goes along with that?
Yes.
Okay, for the POPs, the publicly owned public space, will that remain fully open to the public at all hours?
Yes, that's the intent.
It will not be gated or closed?
No, there will be no gates.
Okay. And so is it permeable? Does it invite people sort of in and off?
Yes, there will be access both from the street and from the lane side. And would you like me to ask our landscape architect to provide a little bit more explanation?
Sure.
Okay. Bryce? So Bryce Gauthier is our landscape architect.
Hi there, pleasure to be here this evening. The public open space is about 13,000 square feet, and there are many different connections. It's fully accessible from the rear lane, so it will meet that lane almost at grade. There'll be a small ramp, actually several small ramps to make that connection, as well as public stairs and a drop-off. At the street level, obviously, there's a grade change, so there will be the stair will be sculpted and spaced so that it is quite generous, and that will allow people up from the street. There will also be several elevators, and the plan is to activate the edges of the POPs, the public open space, and also privately owned public space, and also have the lobbies at the back. So there will be
I just have a few seconds. Is it hardscape or is there a green space?
both.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So I may apologize. So I have to follow the procedure. So before asking the council to ask questions, I have to ask, would the applicant team would like to present the application?
I thought you won't ask.
I'm asking now, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So I'll redo what I was planning to do.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Good evening, council. Thank you for having us today, and thank you for working late. We're very happy to be here. My name is Joanna Kwan, Director of Development at Reliance Properties. I would like to quickly introduce our team here. Standing next to me is Paul Faber, Senior VP at Quad Rail. And over there, John Stovall, President of Reliance Properties, Mitch Mills, Development Manager at Reliance, and Bryce Gauthier from our landscape architect. We have Clement here. And also online, we have Neil Dinari from LA, our design architect, to answer question. We do not have a visual presentation today, and we thank Nick Danford for making a presentation for our proposal. We just want to say I want to say a few words, and Paul will say a few words. And the rest of our team will be available to answer questions, as you see earlier on our practice. Just a little bit of a history. We started our rezoning inquiry effort back in 2015. That's 9 years ago. And the original inquiry actually was under the Rental 100 program, and there was 2 towers. They were residential rental with commercial space on ground and a large public green space on the podium. It has been a very long journey. We overcome a lot of challenges like tower height, uncertainty on view cone shadows, and the long waits for the Broadway plan to become formalized. And meanwhile, we were carrying and maintaining a very large retail space that we dealt with short-term rental, short-term commitment for the retail space. So we're very happy to be finally here at this point, and we're pleased that our original vision for this site has been preserved. And in special, I want to acknowledge the fact that the professionalism and the collaborativeness of the planning department in the last few years provide a lot of great guidance and put us in this place right now. We strongly believe that we have a thoughtful, well-designed proposal that will fulfill the city's vision for the Broadway corridor to provide housing and job space to create a vibrant community. And I'll pass it on to Paul.
Thanks, Joanna. Good evening, Council. My name is Paul Fabish, and I'm with Quadreal. And so on behalf of Quadreal and our partners at Reliance, we just want to say we're very happy to be at this point in the rezoning process. And if approved and we're able to work through the remainder of our permitting, we're excited to build out the proposed building. So as mentioned several times already, we're proposing 514 purpose-built rental housing units, about a 14,000 square foot privately owned public green space, 37 space daycare, retail amenities for the neighborhood. And this all has very high accessibility to the new Broadway subway and the existing Canada line. And we believe this will inject activity and life back into this block of Broadway, which has declined a bit since Mountain Equipment Co-op closed a few years back. So I just want to say thank you, and we'll be brief, and our team is here for any other questions that may come up this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now we're going to continue for the question from the council. So Councillor Carbian finished your questions. So Councillor Montague, please go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. Councillor Kirby-Young was sort of going down the road of the questions I was looking for, but I do have a couple questions regarding the view cones for staff. When were these view cones put into policy and practice?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Montague. Kevin Spans, project lead on the Citywide Development Guidelines project, including early actions on view cones. The Queen Elizabeth views are original views that came into, that were adopted by Council in 1989, as shown. The lower parts of the views were re-reviewed a couple of years later and reinforced by Council. Those two views, 3.1 and 3.2.4a, well, actually specifically 3.2.4a, underwent an amendment to enable Citygate at the end of False Creek to move forward. And further to that, or I should say subsequently after that, the Broadway plan enabled encroachments into those lower view cones. But 1989.
Okay, and so the one view cone that was that required a redesign, a lowering of the one tower by 8 stories, I believe. The height of that view cone, is it based on at the time it was created, the level of the housing developments on the North Shore?
I couldn't say exactly what was setting the lower line of that development. Rather that there was a specific amount of the water of the bay that was expected to be seen and protected in the lower part of the view. The upper part of the view was more defined by what wasn't being encroached into by development. It may have been that the development line of the North Shore defined that, but the history on that is goes back a long time. So
Okay, and the development line on the North Shore is now much higher than it was back in 1989, obviously.
It is, however, in the evaluation that we're undertaking right now, the development line of the North Shore isn't, say, for example, like in West Vancouver, where there is quite a bit of a difference over time. On the east side of the North Shore, it's not quite as pronounced as that. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks for those clarifying.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Montague. Okay, seeing no one else in the queue, so I'm going to call the second time for the speakers. This is the second call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. Any speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium before the close of the speakers list. Speakers will have 5 minutes to make their comments and should limit their comments to the merits of the report being considered. We will now hear from the public. The first speaker on the speakers list is Neil Wells. I think he's on the line. Hey, Neil, please go ahead. You have 5 minutes. Are you there, Neil? Are you there?
I am.
Okay, please go ahead, Neil.
You can hear me. Thank you.
Yeah, we can.
Good evening, Chair and Council. My name is Neil Wiles, and I'm representing the Mount Pleasant Business Improvement Association. I'm here to speak in support of the development at 130 West Broadway, or as we know it, the old MEC building. I believe this is the first or second project in the Broadway plan to come before you. I want to note that I think there are nearly 20 other projects in Mount Pleasant lined up behind this one. This project, as you've heard, will bring over 500 new homes that are desperately needed, and all the people living here will bring more business to all of the small businesses in my area. The 6 blocks of the Broadway line footprint in my area is nearly at 40% vacancy, and that's climbing every day. So I'm excited to see this coming. This site occupies 3/4 of a very long block and has been a dead zone for a number of years now. I know Reliance Holdings. I operated a restaurant in one of their buildings in Yaletown for 20 years. I know the family and I know many of their other tenants. I look forward to seeing what they do here, and I'm confident that I will like the outcome. I see from the renderings that they have many small businesses planned at the street level part of this site. I feel that's important. It is street level businesses that help create the feeling of a complete neighborhood and a place that you want to live. Access to local shops, services, parks, and schools are very important to people when they're deciding where they want to live. And on that note, I will say that the number that shocked me in the project report was the building's catchment elementary school is Simon Fraser Elementary. And at the time of completion of the project, it'll be over 176% over capacity. And this school is currently operating with 4 portable classrooms. The catchment high school, I'm literally sitting in it right now, is Eric Amber, which is currently undergoing an expansion. And it is projected to be at 79% capacity upon completion of this project, and it's over 30 blocks away. I understand that schools are VSB and a provincial responsibility, but there's a provincial election coming up. There is not a better time for all of us to let our provincial representatives know that this should be a top priority. In Yaletown, Elsie Roy Elementary was at 100% capacity on the day it opened. We only recently saw the announcement about the school in the Olympic Village, 14 years after the Olympics. And that's just the announcement, not the actual school. These things take an incredible amount of time, and we need to make sure that the city is putting that pressure on the province right now. We cannot build housing for tens of thousands of people and not think that schools and parks and other things that families need can be filled in later. I found this to be an outstanding issue during the vast number of consultation meetings that I attended about the Broadway plan, and I'm finding that it still is. That being said, I do not want to detract from how excited I am to see a large project like this breathe new life into this area. The housing is desperately needed, and I cannot wait to see this project start. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil. The second speaker on the list is Dan Holloway. Is Dan here on the line?
Chair Zhou, I'm told speaker number 2 disconnected. So the speaker would have, are they there?
Dan, are you there?
No. Okay.
Okay, we're going to come back to speaker number 2.
Well, the speaker in a public hearing, the speaker will have the opportunity to call back in at the third and final call.
Okay, that's right. Okay. Thanks. We're going to go to the third one. Devon Hasak is here. Okay, please go ahead. Yeah, come to the podium and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Chair Zhao and members of City Council. Many of you here tonight. My name is Devin Hessick, and I've been fortunate enough to call Vancouver home for 13 years. And I live relatively close to this proposal in City Hall too, though it doesn't really say much, does it? By now, you've all spent enough time either commuting here or going back home to know how fast and easy transit makes it to get to City Hall and from almost anywhere in to City Hall from almost anywhere in our city. I'm sure you've also taken advantage of the many grocery stores nearby to pick up something on the way home too. Or maybe just stopped in to eat at one of the many local restaurants in the area, like Jollibee, Fatburger, Uncle Fatty's, Rogue, Cactus Club, Foret Noir. As you can probably tell, I haven't had time to have dinner tonight. My point is, there's many obvious reasons why I think you should join me in supporting these homes. By doing so, you won't just be supporting a hypothetical tenant that wants to move into our city. You'll be supporting those that already call this neighborhood home. It's no secret that many applications proposed under the Broadway plan so far will replace existing rental buildings, including a couple buildings with friends of mine. However, that's not the case here, as every one of these 514 rental homes will be a net addition to our city's rental housing stock, which means this building will be an oasis for Vancouver renters, thanks to the enhanced tenant protections offered by the Broadway plan that was so wisely approved by the councillors that were re-elected, which I only see one here tonight. But Of course, this application delivers far more than 500, just 514 homes, as it will help to fill the holes that plague our city. I'm sure the roughly $15.5 million development levy it will pay must stick out to some of you, given your recent discussions on the city budget. However, for some of my friends, it's the 37 spaces of daycare that stands out. I can understand why. It's no secret that the shortage of childcare facilities in our city is so bad that the best time to apply for a spot is before you schedule your first ultrasound. Somewhat selfish of me, but admittedly, as a person with a disability, it's the new public space that will be created that stands out to me. There's not many areas to stop and rest along Broadway, and somewhere that's far away from busy traffic is even more rare. But there are those that will say Jonathan Rogers Park is just down the hill, that it's so nearby. But that elevation can seem a lot more steep when your knees are throbbing with pain. Trust me, I know. It's also why I'm grateful to your staff who've ensured that respite can truly be accessible with conditions that require an elevator and a wider stairwell. It won't be just some private amenity space. It will be a welcoming spot for every resident of Vancouver. Still, I do wish they would have given you the opportunity to decide if the previous iteration of this proposal deserved your approval. I know I'm not allowed to ask questions, yet I'm curious, how long did redesigning this building take? How much did that cost the applicant team? I don't really care if they're making a huge profit or not, that's not my goal, but I do want these homes to be viable. And how has the loss of 10 rental homes impacted that bottom line? Is it worth that trade-off of 7 or 8 floors of the one tower? As someone who is an active participant in the Broadway plan, I understand those regulations were shaped by public consultation, and that your staff are obliged to follow them. That said, I never expected that document to be set in stone, immovable and inflexible to the needs and challenges that would arise as years went by. Having recently returned from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, I understand how precious our mountain views are, but I don't particularly value looking at the mansions that cover the lower portions of the North Shore Mountains the same way as, the pristine wilderness. It's up to you to lead, to judge in the way that you best you can at the moment to make sure that Vancouver becomes an even better place, a more welcoming place. I think this proposal helps accomplish that goal, and that's why I hope you approve it. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, that one. You have no question, but thanks for speaking to council tonight. The next one, number 4, has withdrawn. We're going to go to number 5 on the list. Hamong Moon. Okay. Yeah, please come to the podium and go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you. This is my first time speaking to council, so please excuse any nerves. Thank you. I just wanted to, my name is Harmon Moon. I live around Main and 12th in Mount Pleasant. And I just wanted to come and show my support as a resident for a project that will bring badly needed homes into this neighborhood. I think that the approval of this project is kind of a no-brainer. It's not displacing existing rentals, or excuse me, it's not displacing existing residents. It has a daycare space, which is desperately needed. And it's 500 new houses for 500 new homes for a city that is in the middle of a housing crisis. So I wanted to touch briefly on, I am not an expert in architecture, building, any of these things. I'm just a resident. But I did have a chance to look over the report from staff, and I just wanted to touch on 2 things that stood out to me, which were concerns in opposition of this project about the neighborhood character and the height of the building. And in terms of neighborhood character, I want to say, as somebody who lives in the neighborhood, that I'm not particularly bothered about the neighborhood or the look of the neighborhood. Because as far as I'm concerned, cities are for living in, not for looking at. And that's why I'm particularly frustrated by the redesign of the building. And it sounds like, based on the questions I've heard and from some of the other speakers, that I'm not the only one frustrated by this. But I'm frustrated that we had to redesign this building and lose housing units and shrink the size of the building to protect a view from Queen Elizabeth Park, which, as the picture showed, and that was my first time looking at the picture, so it was shocking to me that the previous design really did not block anything that I could see. And I think it's really, as I said, I find this very frustrating, and I think it's really emblematic of how the city of Vancouver has historically approached city building, which is look, don't touch. And so, as I said, cities are for living, not for looking at. And so it's frustrating to me that there are people who will not have the opportunity to live in this building because we needed to be able to see a slight couple more inches of mountain from Queen Elizabeth Park. Speaking of the height, I understand that people are not big fans of tall buildings. And as somebody who would not prefer to live in a tall building, I do sympathize to a certain extent. But this really is the bed that we've made, and now we have to sleep in it. It is very, very hard to build these missing middle units and missing middle apartment buildings anywhere in the city. And so given the demand for housing in the middle of, again, a housing crisis, we have to try to cram as many people as possible into smaller and smaller parcels of land. And how do you do that? By going higher. And so I don't love the height, but I love 500 new housing units. I love a daycare center. I love all the opportunities it's going to open up on Broadway. And so I think, as I said at the beginning, I think this is a no-brainer of project, and I encourage council to support it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for the first time speaking to council. Hope to see you more. Thank you. Hey, the number 6 on the speakers list has withdrawn. We're going to go to number 7. Rebecca Hartley, in person. Okay, I think she's coming to the podium. Good. Yeah, please go ahead, Rebecca. You have 5 minutes. You can start whenever you're ready.
Good evening, Chairperson and City Council. My name is Rebecca Hartley. I am a resident of Vancouver, and I'm here tonight to provide support for 130 West Broadway. As someone who passes by this location frequently to grab groceries at No Frills or run errands to the other local shops along Broadway, I'm excited that something will finally be happening to this large former mech site. While it's currently playing a role in giving TV and movie set props a new life, the transformation proposed here will mean this location will have a part in addressing the city's affordability crisis, with over 500 new homes, including 184 that are geared towards families. While I know some have been concerned about the cost of these new homes, they will be much more affordable than the nearby $1 to $3 million residences and allow those who work along the Broadway business corridor an easy commute home. This building will bring life back to the street as well, as retail will be making a comeback, with 3 separate storefronts proposed. That will be much more friendly and inviting than the long blank stretches of wall that are there now. Care has also been taken to improve on what exists today, as not only will there be the 13 street trees that exist today will be retained, but there will be another 35 trees added to the site as well. Parents in the neighborhood will applaud the debut of 37 daycare spaces, as these are in short supply across our city. On top of the ample indoor space these kids will have to play and learn while their parents are at work, there will be over 5,000 square feet of outdoor space to explore as well. Those young and old will also get to enjoy the nearly 13,000 square feet of public space this proposal will offer, with a plaza that is accessible from both Broadway and the Lane. This will give residents in the whole neighborhood another green space option for a quiet spot to relax and read a book or run around with the kids when Jonathan Rogers Park is hosting one of its many music events and festivals, like Carnival de Sol or the Monster Cat Compound Festival. My only complaint is that there aren't even more homes being considered at this location. I understand there was initially going to be another 10 provided, but those were passed over due to concerns about this building's height. That's a real shame, given that the best part of this proposal is not a single renter is being displaced in the creation of these homes. As a city, we should really be reevaluating this mindset. We should be making the most of these locations and put more value on homes that will allow people less time commuting, more time at home with their families, to relax after a long day, over views that are blocked by trees anyways. That said, I hope you can agree with me and join me tonight in support of this proposal. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thanks.
Next one on the list is number 8, Peter Silin. Please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you. I'm also, well, actually second time. First time was about 8 years ago. So I'm Peter Sillin. I live on West 11th between Ontario and Manitoba. I've lived here for close to 35 years. And I have a heritage house, and I actually have 2 suites in it. One suite I rent out for $1,260, a 1-bedroom, and the other $1,760. for a 2-bedroom. So I provide low-cost housing, and that all includes all the utilities, washer, dryer, outside space, everything, okay? So I have a commitment to how this neighborhood functions. So I'm actually a little confused because it says the drawings, they say conceptual only. Does that mean the building that we'll build is what's in the drawings that are there? Or could the building look completely different?
We can't answer the question now, but I'm pretty sure some people will ask the question later.
Do you know what? I'm really hearing impaired, didn't understand what you said. I'm sorry.
Oh, so I said we can't answer the question during the speaker's period, but I'm pretty sure some council member will ask the question for you later.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Assuming that's what it looks like, first of all, I want to address what I think your job is. Your job is not just to shove as many people as you can into the city. It's to do it in a way that provides quality of life. How are you doing that? How are you going to make a city that's a livable city? Okay, and there are ways to do it. I do not think this building does. And if you bring up, you have the renderings, is that what they call the drawings, right? So if you look at the view from, I think it is Columbia going east, you'll see this building. And if you just pay attention to what you feel inside as you look at that, and I'm a psychotherapist, so this is kind of what I do. What I know is that I feel dead. I feel nothing, okay? And I do not want to live in a neighborhood where I feel dead, where I'm not relating to the buildings, where they don't draw me in, where they don't make me want to walk down that street. And if you keep on approving building after building after building that nobody wants to relate to, guess what's going to happen? They're not going to go there, or they're going to walk right by it. And if they keep on walking, block and block and block, they're going to drive. So I think, I don't love high rises, but I understand the need for housing and everything. I think this needs to be redesigned. And I think it needs to be stopped, because where do you start? Where do you start making a city that's livable? And if you want an example of what's happened, look at West Georgia. Look at what's called Pacific Boulevard. Do you see people walking down those streets? You don't. Why not? Okay, and why not, if we're redeveloping West Broadway, why don't we develop a street where people want to walk down that street? Because for me, that's the difference between a great city and a dead city. And how do you do that? It's by having really strong design principles, okay, that take into account best practices in terms of urban living and urban design. And I just don't think this building does that. So, when I've been doing other advocacy, what people tell me is this is a done deal. So and I have people who they won't even come to City Hall. They won't voice anything because they think you're not going to listen. But I just had to have my piece. So thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for speaking to council. The speaker number 9, Cassie Paul. Is Cassie on the line?
I am.
Okay, please go ahead, Cassie. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. On behalf of YMCA BC, I would like to offer our support for the proposal put forth by Reliance for Properties and Quad Rail Property Group to build new secured rental housing and a childcare facility at 130 West Broadway. I've come to know the development team through my role as Vice President, Children and Youth Services at YMCA BC. As one of the province's largest operational charities and the largest provider of licensed childcare, our purpose is to build vibrant, healthy, and inclusive communities, and we do this by providing vital programs and services that address our most pressing social issues. Here in Vancouver, it's no surprise that access to more housing and more childcare are at the top of the list of societal needs, and this project offers both. The City of Vancouver currently has a shortfall of 15,000 licensed childcare spaces. We need to work together to provide more childcare spots as soon as possible, and approving this project is a step in that right direction. Many bus routes run along the Broadway, including the Beeline Rapid Bus. The Broadway City Hall SkyTrain is just 3 blocks west, and the future Mount Pleasant subway station will be 3 blocks east. Governments of all levels have invested heavily in the Broadway subway project, and the Broadway plan aims to densify along the corridor so more people can live close to transit. This proposal meets the policy objective. I hope you will vote favorably and approve this project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Speaker number 10 is Bobo Eric. Is Bobo on the line?
Hello, can you
Yeah,
hear me?
please go ahead.
Okay, just stepping away from bedtime with my kids. All right. Yes, thank you, Councillor Joe and Council, for the opportunity to speak in favor of this much-needed rental housing proposal that's before us today. I really appreciate hearing from the previous speakers, not just on this project, but also on previous ones, and providing such eloquent and clear denunciations of sort of Vancouver's planning process in general. Many have highlighted how the current system hinders our ability to address not just our housing shortage, but also the development of essential support services, whether that's fire stations like we heard of from the first rezoning application tonight, but also sort of a shortage in childcare and education spaces. And all of these are needed to keep Vancouver safe, vibrant, and fun. The process of rezoning 130 West Broadway is creating yet another unique CD1 zone, and these simply cannot be done quickly enough to meet the scale of housing that's needed in Vancouver. New market housing is often criticized for its high cost, but that's a reflection of the shortage of housing relative to the demand to live in Vancouver. And so the city's affordability will improve only when the city becomes undesirable, or because we've built enough housing that we've lowered the market clearing price. I think we should choose the latter, and that's why I'm speaking in favor of this building. This development, which originally had around 550 homes and is now down to about 514, won't solve the affordability crisis on its own, but it's a crucial step forward. For decades, city governments have allowed this crisis to spiral out of control by refusing to make the land use changes necessary to accommodate enough housing. The amount of housing that's expected from Vancouver's multiplex plan is laughable, and the recently announced changes to Shaughnessy seem designed to ensure that any changes within that neighborhood are financially unviable. The myriad of policies and processes that limit housing construction in Vancouver only make housing more expensive, and that makes the city worse. I did have a slide deck, by the way. I just realized it's supposed to serve some pictures. I have no idea if they're on. I'm on my phone, so whether they're up, it doesn't really matter.
We can see the slides.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So there should be the second slide, which should be the picture of the view from Queen Elizabeth Park that I took yesterday. So this is the protected view from Queen Elizabeth Park that was part of the contentious issue for this project. There's a particular irony that this view cone actually had to be relocated in 2008 because it was originally up near the conservatory and the plants grew too high so that the view was getting blocked. So now we have a new location. And so as a city, and the city planners recognize that plants grow and the city has to evolve to accommodate that, but we don't seem to recognize that cities grow, and Vancouver has been growing, but we try to limit that with our view cones. And these arbitrary designations of protected views and the preference for a dome-like downtown Vancouver prevent the city from growing upward and contribute to it growing outward. So on the next slide, which should be the third slide. As councillors, you've seen your fair share of bad renderings. It was seeing staff actually put this up in the presentation earlier, sort of puts my little Photoshop job to shame, but this is the view from Queen Elizabeth Park with the original proposal for 130 West Broadway. And it is, for all intents and purposes, exactly the same view, and yet staff required a complete redesign for the project, and I think the applicant mentioned that there was an 8-month delay that it was associated with that process, not to mention and the cost that comes along with that. Fortunately, this site did allow for a new design. It has larger floor plates, fewer homes, and probably is going to have less light per home because you're reducing your surface area to volume ratio. And so these are all trade-offs that are a result of Vancouver's regulations and policies that relate to land use. And so while it was fortunate that this site was able to meet those the requirements from staff and could bring forward a revised application, that's not going to be true for every site. And so if these policies aren't changed, we're going to get some proposals that just die before they even get to the public hearing stage and before you get the chance to approve it. So I really do implore you to approve this project and dramatically roll back the endless number of hurdles that new housing projects have to jump through in order to gain approval. I'm excited to hear about the update whenever that comes from staff about view cones, and yeah, I look forward to seeing what's involved in that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Bobo. Perfect timing. Thank you. The next speaker is Dennis Egger. Is Dennis on the line?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. My name is Dennis Agar. I live in Hastings Sunrise. I'm a transit planner and I run a nonprofit. I don't have anything to say to you all that you haven't already heard before. I'm in support of this project. I think it should have been able to be built without a rezoning. I think it should be taller and have more daycare spaces. And just as my perspective as a transit planner, this is probably one of the most transit accessible sites, not in the city, but on the continent. And there's no reason why we should be building anything but extremely dense housing here. Every unit built here is a unit that's not built in Langley, on farmland, in a place that the only way to get around is by car. Those are all my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker is speaker number 12, Joshua Moskovis. Sorry to mispronounce your name if I did. Is Joshua on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, please go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Yeah, good evening, Council. My name is Joshua Moskowitz. I'm 33 years old and a resident of the Mount Pleasant neighborhood here in Vancouver, where the proposed development is located. I would like to express support for the rezoning of 130 to 150 Broadway for this development. And I think it will, in some small part, help to alleviate the current housing crisis that's in our city by injecting a much-needed supply of market rental units. So my common law partner and I, we currently rent a one-bedroom apartment at Great Northern Way in Fraser. We have a lovely view cone of a cedar tree and a retaining wall. And since we moved to Mount Pleasant 3 years ago, rents in our neighborhood have gone up around 20%. So without the addition of more market rental units, like the development being proposed, I think me and my partner will continue to be priced out of renting or purchasing anything larger than a one-bedroom unit. And what I'd like to do now is actually walk you through exactly how bad things have gotten in Mount Pleasant in terms of housing. And I'll apologize in advance for putting you all to sleep, Council, because I'm going to go into the math here a little bit. So the cheapest two-bedroom condo currently available for purchase in Mount Pleasant is $750,000. If you put down a 20% down payment, and with a 5% interest rate mortgage, plus add in condo maintenance fees, property taxes, the monthly housing cost for the cheapest two-bedroom condo is about $4,100 Canadian a month. And for me and my partner, that amount represents about 28% of our gross household income each month. And that's right at the edge of the 30% maximum limit for housing costs advised by Canadian banks and financial experts. So surprisingly, rental units are actually not even much cheaper. Live.rent, it's a Canadian rental listing website, reported that in March of this year, the average rent for a two-bedroom apartment in Mount Pleasant was $3,300 a month. If that doesn't shock you, I don't know. What might shock you is that me and my partner can't afford the smallest two-bedroom condo in Mount Pleasant, despite being actually in the top quarter of household income in Canada, according to federal census data. I recognize that we're in a privileged position, but I often think, how is the individual with average income in Vancouver able to afford housing? And what about families with children who need multiple bedrooms? And what about single people who are unable to pool money with a partner to afford rent? So I feel confident that the construction of more rental housing, really any type of housing, will make it more affordable to live in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood. This development is really necessary. It's going to increase the supply of housing, it's going to lower the demand for, and it's going to lower the cost of housing in Mount Pleasant. And really, right now, it's a case of too much demand and not enough supply. And so I support any really development such as this, which alleviates our housing crisis. I just want to thank you, appreciate this opportunity to share my thoughts on this issue.
Okay, thank you, Joshua. The last registered speaker list is Devika Ramlavan. Is Devika on the line?
Yes, hello, I am. Thank you
Please
for
go ahead.
allowing me the opportunity to speak today. So my name is Devika Ramkilawan, and I am the Executive Director at Mount Pleasant Neighborhood House. And I'm calling in support of this project. For folks that are unaware, Mount Pleasant Neighborhood House is a multi-service, not-for-profit in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood. And one of the important services that we provide to the community is childcare. And I'd like to take a moment just to speak about the importance of the additional childcare spaces to the project. Having a childcare program that currently has a wait list of about 200, and being the provider for the new Hamburg Childcare Center, where 69 new spaces will be open and will make a small dent in the needs of the neighborhood. The additional spaces that are being provided here, the additional, I believe, 37 spaces that are being provided here are much needed. And as an organization, as a service provider, as a parent, we can't have enough opportunity for parents to be able to access good quality childcare in our neighborhood. So thank you for the opportunity to speak, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so this is the end of the registered speakers list. So I'm gonna call the third time for the speakers. This is the third and final call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list. The phone number will be posted on X and made available on the live stream. Any speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the podium. Do we have new speakers? Okay, so now we're going to take 5 minutes recess to see if we have any additional speakers. We're going to come back at 8:16. Everyone, do we have a quorum?
One,
We
two,
do.
three. Yes.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, everyone, so let's come back for this, continue this public hearing. Clerk, do we have any additional speakers to provide comments on this item?
None. None on the phone.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there's anybody in the gallery coming forward.
Okay, if there's anyone want to speak to council, please come to the podium. Okay, I guess no?
No?
All right, so seeing there's no additional speakers, the speakers list is now closed. Seeing there are no public comments received after 5 p.m., I'm also closing the receipt of public comments. Does applicant have any closing comments? Oh, okay, thank you. Do staff have any closing comments?
Yeah, I think I just want to clarify the number of units. So that's correct. The original proposal came in with 524, and so the revised scheme has 514. So there is that difference of 10 units. The number of units will be confirmed through the development permit process, though. So we're not regulating exactly the number of units, and that will be confirmed through the next process of the application.
Thank you for the clarification. Does council member have any question for staff? No? Not there yet. Wait a minute. So, clerk, did we receive any additional comments since the close of the public comments?
Just double checking. And I'm hearing no additional correspondence.
Okay, thank you. So council will now make a decision on these applications. It's moved by Councillor Kirby Young and seconded by Councillor Clausen. Council, is there any debate? Councillor Clausen, please go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Chair. So I'm very pleased to support this project. I take note of a few things about it and listen very carefully. There's some really great speakers tonight. I do take a little issue, and I certainly beauty is certainly in the eye of the beholder. But I think that in terms of urban design, one of the things that I really look for is the engagement on this street. And we did hear from the BIA representative Neil Wiles and other members of the community that feel that this is going to be a great asset for the community. As most Vancouverites know, that site of MEC was there for a long time. Almost everybody shopped there, but it was large retail that took up the entire street and basically took away from the vibrancy of that block because there was really only one entrance. This will now have multiple retail locations, plus the connectedness to the public space, the green space that's on there, which is actually quite unique. So I really commend the designer and the proponent for bringing that forward, because I think that and coupled with the public art is going to be quite an interesting addition to the street in this area. I was actually I went and rechecked the map because my daughter went to Eric Hamber High School, and I was quite surprised to see that the catchment fell into the Hamber catchment. It is a long way away. I suppose that riding transit up and down Canby might get you closer to the high school, but it's going to be I think a long-term challenge for this community, and we do have a provincial election coming up, and the riding itself, there may be a discussion on the campaign trail about the future of schools and that riding that would be worth looking at. And my sort of final comment is just in reflection to the second to last speaker, Jason Moskowitz, who I think did a very commendable job of talking about the challenges that young people and families are facing in terms of the cost of housing. I know it's a huge driver and motivates me very strongly to make sure that we build more housing faster. So I just wanted to really acknowledge, because I thought it was very thoughtful. He spelled it out, the costs, the challenges, and the risks that he and his partner face in terms of being able to continue to live here and be a part of our vibrant city. So I thank you very much for making those comments. So with that, Chair, I am very pleased to support this proposal.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Meisner, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I also am really happy to support this project tonight. I think there's a lot to like about it, as highlighted just now by Councillor Klassen. But just wanted to touch on a few of those pieces. So it is a former retail site, the MEC. I think, as mentioned, we've all been there at some point. So there's no displacement with the project, and it will add over 500 desperately needed rental units to Mount Pleasant. And part of addressing the price of housing in the neighborhood is going to be adding that new supply. So this will make a significant impact to provide new homes for Vancouverites in a location that's super connected to transit in between two Broadway subway lines and also just a block from the 10th Avenue bikeway. So no need to really have a car here if you don't want to, and I think that's fantastic. I really appreciated as well the speakers tonight, especially the speakers that touched on the view cone issue and really illustrated how those view cones are impacting the delivery of housing. We saw with this project, it's been in the works since 2015. Well, it's 2024. It's almost 10 years for this project to come to public hearing. And some of these view cones have caused the project to be redesigned, which is obviously adds to the overall cost and is therefore passed on to the people that will be eventually renting these units. So it really illustrates why our review of some of these view cones that really only are preserving a couple inches of a side of a developed hillside in North Vancouver as viewed from Queen Elizabeth Park, but are literally limiting the number of rental homes that we can deliver on these amazing sites on the Broadway corridor that are super connected to transit. So just really appreciated those comments tonight. And I'm very excited to vote in support of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kirby, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And I probably can offer a little different perspective and comments than my colleague. And first of all, I just want to say to the speakers that we do listen carefully to all the speakers, and I do appreciate the person that spoke with respects to the change in the neighborhood. And people get really attached to their neighborhoods, and our city is changing and it is growing, but we do need to adapt to that. I think a couple things that stand out for me here is the intersection. You look at it a little bit differently between different components for design, between floor plates and view cones, for example. So it's interesting to me that when this one was redesigned, yes, there was a process to do that, but a difference of 10 homes, we've heard. Not significant. This one, in this particular case, retains the view cone. I think that the city has, the onus is on us, and we are currently going through the process of reviewing things like shadowing, floor plates, view cones. But they are not isolated factors and they do intersect. So this is a really interesting example to me because it shows how if we had larger floor plates similar to other municipalities, Burnaby was mentioned, you could achieve pretty much the same number of homes and take the view cones. In other situations, depending upon the nature of the site, you can't necessarily. So I think this is sort of an interesting real life case example. Having been on council last term and was proud to approve the Broadway plan, this is one of the first sort of significant projects that's coming forward, and 500 plus homes is a significant number. I think it also delivers a little bit of a public amenity with respects to what we heard from people in the neighborhood, that they were welcoming of supporting new homes and reinvigorating Broadway along the new transit infrastructure investment, but really want to have livability and community amenities. And so the POPs, as they're known, or the privately owned public space, the fact that that's open, permeable, will have some green space is really important. So I'm just going to sort of acknowledge that I will be looking to how those spaces are executed because we are going to need to rely on both the sort of proponent support that are bringing forward these private sector projects, as well as the city's ability to acquire additional green space and amenities. And so that plays, I think, an important role here. So you've got the childcare amenity, you've got the access to the space, and then you have a significant number of homes. So I think that's a good one. And as was mentioned by my colleague, Councillor Klassen, it's a tough time for construction with the new businesses. Having the new residents come in, it's going to be fantastic when it's finished. We have a bit of a delay in the subway coming in, but it's going to be hopefully a vibrant, revitalized street with a lot of new residents who are also going to become customers and be a great place to do business. So I do appreciate the project. And I am appreciating sort of seeing the intersection between a lot of these issues that council is considering, whether it's floor plates and view cones and how they work together. I'll also say too that in this case, the proponent chose to sort of work within, I think, responding their original proposal. My intuition is to some of the city's sort of preferred building approaches, and because of the floor plate intersection, had we had a floor plate difference, for example, they wouldn't have had to compete on the view cone and vice versa. So again, that's a little bit of a takeaway there. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Fry, please go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. It's funny, I was thinking about Councillor Klassen's comments about the catchment and Eric Hamber. And of course, what we didn't mention was that there will be a subway there by the time this is built that could take them right to Kitsilano High School in probably about 10 minutes or less. Yeah. So, you know, I just want to reflect that, you know, I get that some people thought this was maybe too high. Other people think this development is too short, sort of like a Goldilocks scenario. I think it is just right. I think it actually does deliver really well. And I really want to commend the developer for some really thoughtful design. I mean, we've talked about Broadway plan and what that could look like and these ideas of 6-story street walls and stuff. And I think that the thoughtful interjection of this park space with the kind of descending ramp onto Broadway, connecting it up to 10th on the other side, I think it's really a thoughtful kind of approach. And to Peter Sillen's comments about this lacked soul, you know, I can tell you, having lived next to a childcare facility for many, many years, if there's one thing that brings soul to a community, it's a bunch of little kids enjoying life, and really reminds you of a lot of things. And I think this will deliver a lot, and I am very hopeful that this is the kind of work that we're going to see develop on Broadway corridor, where we actually will achieve that kind of promised great street. Because I think this is a really fantastic approach to what was really just a big box with a parking lot on top. And I think this is great. So I'm happy to support it. I think it's going to deliver, you know, a lot of decent housing. I'm really excited about the childcare, but that park in the middle is really got me jazzed. And I think it's a great piece for Broadway, which really could use a little love and a little bit of that great street treatment that this will enhance. So happy to support it. Thanks, Chair.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Fry. We will now go to the voting screen panel. So please register your vote there. Right, Councillor on the line, Councillor Bly. Okay, perfect. All right, so this application passed unanimously with Mayor Sim absent. Thank you. All right, so this is the end of the agenda today. So we need a motion to adjourn. Second, moved by Councillor Fry, second by Councillor Meisner, and this meeting is now adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. Thank you. It's a long day. My goodness. I know. Oh.